If you've got the best-selling truck for the last 46 years, what else can you add? If you're Ford, you just keep putting in more power, higher tow ratings, and more technology. It's the 2023 Super Duty. It's brand new, new screens, but that's not really the most important thing. It's the look, and it's the engine underneath here. This is the Power Stroke, so let's get going. The Super Duty is usually on a time delay after the regular F-150 gets updated, but the wait is worth it. More technology, more power, and a lot of amenities, especially the luxury inside, because this truck is the King Ranch. The Super Duty comes with 4 engine choices. This is the new engine for 2023. It's the high output Power Stroke, 1,200 pound-feet of torque, more than anything out there. And 500 horsepower, that ain't too bad either. The slightly lower output, those numbers really aren't that much lower. And the standard engine, pretty decent. It's a new 6.8 liter. It replaces the 6.2 liter gas V8, more horsepower, more torque than before. The upgrade is a 7.3 liter V8 with a lot stronger internals. Ford has that engine more for just heavier hauling for gasoline V8 engines if you don't want the diesel option. Everyone comes with a 10-speed automatic, and now 4-wheel drive is standard on XLT and above. And this one has the low range, it's got the transfer case, all that good stuff. From the side, it's standard F-Series. You get this window cut line that dips by the mirror. It power extends, it's got cameras, zone lighting all around. The front is what's really striking. It's all chrome because this is the King Ranch. And every F-Series Super Duty has those C-clamp LEDs, big tow hooks, absolutely love that. And this one has a 12,000 pound winch by Warn with a 70-foot synthetic rope. That's pretty cool. I'm not really gonna show you that today because it's illegal to cut down trees for Christmas, so I'm not gonna try that. But believe me, this vehicle can do pretty much anything. And there's also 2 kilowatts of onboard power if you need something extra. Fuel economy. Well, your mileage may vary, and your mileage is the only number that's actually gonna count because there's no EPA estimates for trucks of this size. However, with this diesel, with nothing in the back, just feathering it on the highway, we've gotten close to 20 mpg, which is pretty darn good. And also, this tank, it's so massive, there's over 600 miles of range. You're not gonna find that in any EV. GM's rear bumper steps, they're now on the Ford Super Duty. It was a pretty good idea. That's new for 2023, as are these taillights that can measure the weight that's in the bed. They actually show you visually if there was something in here if you're about to exceed the weight. You can also, in the back here, if you have a tongue on the back, it'll estimate that weight on the tongue. That's pretty cool. What else is cool? Well, this is less cool, I think. A fold down and fold up power tailgate, but when it's down, there's a rear camera pointed out. So if this is down, you don't lose that view out the back. I really like that. This is what you pay for, the heavy towing and payload. Up to 8,000 pounds in the bed and up to 40,000 pounds with a gooseneck trailer or 30,000 pounds with a conventional trailer. This version, obviously not as high because those numbers are for F350 and F450 with dual rear wheels. But with this single rear wheel and this huge diesel, those numbers are still incredible. Plus, what you can add on if you have a big trailer, you can have blind spot sensors mounted to that trailer up to 33 feet long so you can see everything in the blind spot. Helps when you're changing lanes, believe me. The actual King Ranch in Texas is 825,000 acres, which is more than the state of Rhode Island, which is just south of me right now. And inside this King Ranch, it feels just as big. The Super Duty gets the same dash layout, bigger screens, and all the redesigned switchgear of the regular F-150. And on the King Ranch, you're getting real wood, nice etchings of the actual King Ranch, all the logos, special leather. It's all softer, browner for sure. It's not necessarily the most luxurious pickup truck in the segment, but it's darn close. With F-Series trucks, it doesn't matter if you're in the 150 or the 450. You can get a King Ranch and be just as comfortable no matter what you're towing. This one has all the options. It got speakers in the headrests, all these really nice adjustments here in the side seat, so if you're leaning back, it doesn't cut into you. All these little things here make this feel just like a lazy boy. It's very comfortable here in the rear. There's no panoramic moonroof. That is an option. There's even more headroom without it. Heated rear seats. There's a 20-amp plug. You could definitely go for the full 600 miles in this truck. For just a few $100, you can pretend like you're in a sleeper cab. This is the max recline seat for both the driver and the front passenger. So while you're sitting here, you can also get a massage. Sync 4 comes standard on every Super Duty. This is the optional 12-inch. Standard is an 8-inch. Works just like you'll find in any F-150. There's Amazon, Alexa, wireless software updates, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There's also a few extra features, such as the Smart Hitch, which activates the gooseneck and the fifth wheel, helps you through a checklist. It can even basically weigh the tongue so that you don't actually exceed anything on there. Same thing goes with the onboard scales. That's pretty cool. That's also available on the regular F-150, it's just that the scale here goes a lot higher. There's also Pro Power on board. Now this is less than what you'll find in the F-150 hybrid, but when you put it into generator mode, you get the full 2,000 watts of power both inside and in the bed. Plenty of driver assistance comes standard, but there is no Ford Blue Cruise, so that means no semi-automated, hands-off driving. Not available on the Super Duty. In addition to the backup assist, which helps while you already have a trailer, if you use the Pro Trailer Hitch Assist, it'll actually help steer the whole truck back into the trailer. Now when you have one connected, it uses the cameras and automatically does all this for you. You basically line it up here. It couldn't really get any easier. Can't show you that right now, but what I can show you is trailer navigation. When you go in here, if you have a trailer, you usually can't drive them on parkways. I see people do that all across Connecticut. They're not allowed. So what do? Use trailer routing, which automatically will get you off these type of things, right? It knows your height and your width, and it'll know also if the road's a little too curvy and it suggests a better route. This type of stuff is so much better than just using Waze. The digital instrument panel, very crisp, very clear. Lots of information at a glance. You can see all the pitch and roll if you're going off-road. I wouldn't really recommend doing that in a Super Duty. It's just too super huge for that. But there's so much information here, kind of information overload, really. There's also a lot of diesel-specific information, which is quite helpful. It's also fun to nerd out on it. Turbo boost, the engine braking percentage, how much you have for the DEF, that's the diesel exhaust fluid, your exhaust filter, the life on that. Very useful because those things you'll actually have to replace, otherwise you can't restart the truck. That's the regulation, so you've got to abide by them. Really nice to see all that. Again, massive turbo, really fun to just watch this thing work. If you ever wondered what it was like to drive a school bus with 1,200 foot-pounds of torque, this is your chance. No matter what you hear about diesels and passenger cars, they are not going away in heavy-duty trucks because they're designed to pull, they're designed to do work that most of us will never ever do. And this engine, it's just utterly smooth and quiet. The wild thing is that, in traffic, going from say 30 to 60 miles an hour on a lot of roads, 2-lane roads like that, you're almost as fast as a Ford Mustang GT. But you just have to be careful not to rear end one. It's just sneaky kind of power, truly. And this is with nothing loaded at all. It's just absolutely incredible. This is just locomotive level thrust. Truly is. It's overkill for most buyers, it absolutely is. But every year, every generation with these heavy-duty trucks, Ford and Chevy and GMC and Ram, they all have to outdo each other with numbers. And right now, as before, the Super Duty is the king, and this is the King Ranch. With this much torque and all the efficiency of diesel, this truck is why we don't have a Lightning version of the Super Duty, because it'd probably be another 3,000 to 4,000 pounds, and it wouldn't be able to last probably more than 200 miles, even with the largest battery. I'm just coming up with conceptual ideas here of what Ford could be doing. It wouldn't make sense because it'd be as heavy as the GMC Hummer EV, and it wouldn't perform as well as this fossil fuel powered Super Duty. Since about 2007, that whole era, every Super Duty has been equipped with low sulfur diesel emissions equipment on board. There's even an exhaust filter that will ask you, for example, when it needs to burn off the extra soot. Because if you're on a job site and there's possible combustible materials underneath your truck, it doesn't want to, dump more fuel there to clean it, just for the sake of the environment. So it'll actually have a warning light on the dash to tell you that it needs to clean it. You can delay it, move it to a safer area. It will raise that exhaust temperature, burn off the soot, and then, you're relatively clean again. So that's a really nice feature. It's also nice that things just won't randomly combust. Most trims of the Super Duty have standard four-wheel drive, so that means there's also a low range, so it multiplies those gears. And press this button here, you get the diesel exhaust brake, which is very useful because diesel engines, they don't really provide the level of engine braking that ordinary gas engines might of this same size. So what it does is it actually closes off the turbo, so it blocks that exhaust from leaving, and that slows down the whole crankcase, slows down your engine. It really works wonders on downhills with trailers, and even right now, the effect is pretty pronounced. It's not as nearly as aggressive as what you'll find in an EV with brake regen and one-pedal driving. But for a diesel work truck, this feature has been around for such a long time because the turbocharger's massive, the engine's massive. And you're not going to find this on the gas-powered Super Duties. It's only with the Power Stroke. It's a really nice feature, and if you don't need it, switch it right off there in the dash. One thing I wish all these trucks would have is four-wheel steering. This does not, but it actually is not so bad. This is the single rear wheel. A lot of rotations of the steering wheel, but not as bad as I was thinking initially. But if you get that full 8-foot box, which you can get with the crew cab, man, I don't even want to know what that's like. I just hope at one point that all the big three manufacturers put in rear wheel steering. It's just going to transform how these trucks drive. And I think whether you're in a parking lot or on a job site, they really need them. Plus, this is already $100,000, so who really cares if you're spending another 5 or 10 grand? The people buying this truck, I don't think they will. Conventional brakes are just okay, but that's why there's low gears and a diesel exhaust brake. My Super Duty, the F250 Crew Cab King Ranch with the 6 3/4 foot bed and the 3.31 locking differential, was $75,975 to start. Add another 18 grand worth of options and destination, and you're looking at $96,230. There's only a few competitors: the Ram 2500, the GMC Sierra 2500, and the Chevy Silverado 2500. For most truck buyers, I would say don't buy a Super Duty. It's overkill, you don't need the capability, you certainly don't need all this luxury. But then again, Americans, we don't really need a lot of things, and $100,000 buys a living room that'll tow practically anything, park itself, trailer itself, does all sorts of semi-automated trickery that other trucks and vehicles like it just can't do. It's amazing what you can get here, and the fact that it is an old school diesel with a boatload of torque makes me pretty happy. I wouldn't really want this. I want something probably a quarter of the size. But what do you think? If you're in the market for a truck, is it a Super Duty? Is it a Ram? Is it a GMC or a Chevy? We've got all those reviews and more on the YouTube channel, so subscribe, go to CarGurus.com, and we'll see you next time.